Hi, friends and family,
Welcome to Hope After Addiction
with your host, Katie Comer.
and Chelsea McLeod.
Hi, welcome to Hope After Addiction. We are so happy that you've joined us today on this very special day. It's the holiday episode. Yay.
Yes.
It's Christmas time.
I
It's
love your
exciting.
singing. It is. I just love it.
It's a really fun time around
is.
here. It's a busy time, but we were just talking. We were going to do our holiday episode. I literally was this close to pulling out my ugly sweater and putting it on for y'all.
And I had the same thought, and we didn't do it.
We didn't do it. We should
regret
have
it.
just texted each other and said,
We'll
let's
just do it for New Year's. Yeah.
We'll bring out something for New Year's. I don't know what it'll
Yes.
be. Who knows? But mine was like you turn on like a battery pack and it's just like you're a Christmas tree.
That's amazing.
I know. I could have a little star, little hat
Yes.
thing. But nonetheless, we didn't do it. Sorry.
I know. Next time. Next year.
But we're so happy. Yes, you've joined us. It is Christmas time this week, and all of the holiday parties, all of your loved ones are gathering together. Super fun time.
Yeah.
But it also can be like a really hard time.
Yeah.
Especially in the season. If you're listening to this, you're probably dealing with some sort of addiction or some sort of struggle. That brings, when the holiday comes around, it's just like a little bit of extra pressure. Right?
A lot of extra pressure.
Yeah. So we're talking about that and maybe some ways to deal with that with your loved one when they're coming home for the holidays. Maybe they're on a little bit of a leave of absence from their rehab. I don't know if they let them come home. Or maybe you haven't seen your loved one in a while and they come over to visit and you're like, boy, you look rough.
Yeah.
You look rough. And
Yeah.
like, how do we deal with that? Because inevitably we hear a lot around Christmas time. We get a lot of calls at S2L just saying, I saw my uncle and he's rough. What do I
bad.
do? How do I know that he's struggling? And so here we are talking about the holidays. How can we offer you encouragement through this time?
Yeah. And that's huge. And I think we do have so many different categories to who we're talking to.
Yes,
in
that's
this,
true.
You know?
And we hear that a lot too.
Yep.
Out and about. So
A lot, because a lot of our people listening, your loved one is in rehab or getting help. So you're at home as a single mom or single dad by yourself.
Yeah.
We hear the ones where your loved one's just gotten home, but you have family events and you have work events that you're expected to be at where there may be substances that you're staying away from,
Yeah.
There's that. There's also the ones who, like Katie said, that they haven't gotten help yet. And so there's all this stuff and substance and they're all around it and it just gets exasperated where you realize that it really is a big problem. And then there's the ones in grief where it is your first. It is your first holiday without them. And so that's hard.
That's hard too.
It's a very hard. Holidays are just heavy. And it's one thing I've learned, even just in the hair industry of 15 years, because we're like the psychologists,
You're a counselor.
It's
True.
crazy. It is so true. But just there's an expectation over Christmas and the holidays. And a lot of times there's a subconscious that gets brought in that there's actual a lot of trauma that goes back to childhood or to expectations that are not happening or the stress of finances. Like there's a lot that goes into the holidays that are not always talked about that make it just a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to talk about today is just some of those
Yeah.
issues and how to fight it, how to deal with it.
Yeah, for sure. So I would say one of the top things that I'm doing my research, we actually did a holiday episode last year too. And so we kind of went back and looked at some of those points, kind of researched some other things. And one thing that kept popping up in both areas was setting boundaries. And we talk a lot about boundaries and what that looks like. But when it comes to the holidays on a lot of different things that Chelsea was just talking about, whether they're in rehab, whether they just got out of rehab, setting those boundaries around the holidays and what do those boundaries look like are going to be very helpful for you to get through the holidays this season.
Yeah, I would say that is number one.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't matter if it's family, if it's work, it does not matter. When you have put those boundaries down and know that you do not need to be around whatever may be there, I don't care who it is, it's okay to say no.
Yeah.
It's okay to say not right now. It's okay to say not in this season.
Yeah.
That is okay to do. And no, give yourself permission and space to say that and to do that.
We've talked about saying no before in our podcast and how healthy that can be.
Yeah, and we've had to do that before, and it's not easy, and sometimes it does come with some pushback, but it's your life and it's your family, your sobriety. And so whatever it takes to stay in that place, fight for it and do it.
And I would go as far as saying having a sit-down conversation with your loved one or a sit-down conversation with your family and kind of laying out all of the activities that you have planned and just talking through that. And so that way, when Aunt Betsy's, party comes around, nobody's thrown for a loop that you're not coming, but you've already set that expectation. You set that boundary saying, hey, we're not going to make it this year. We love you, but not in this season. We're going to participate in this. Maybe next year we'll reevaluate it, right? There's no wrong in just saying maybe next time. If it's so new for you, maybe it needs to be just you and your family in this season. And it needs to be more intimate in that. And that there's beauty in that too. You can look back on that and be like, how beautiful was that time that we really focused on each other. We said no to this, this, and this. It was hard, but we really needed to focus on each other. So.
And it's so precious to think back to those memories where it just became you guys and you put the rest of the world away, where Christmas became simpler. And the things of the stresses you didn't put in your life. And that's huge. And there were surprises when we began to do some of that, but it's a well-known thing as to what we put ourselves around and what we don't. And we're okay with that today. Like it's, we're okay with it. We're comfortable with it.
Right.
And so I think with Katie mentioned that, it's just communication and even sitting down with your loved one. Hey, I'm not comfortable around this group of people. Like I know that there's things that are partaken in that are not our lifestyle today. And so communicating that with your loved one, hey, maybe we should step back from that this year. But communication is key, because if one is expecting to do and one is not, that's when the heads start to butt. So communication. And everything.
And this next one is a little bit difficult, but I would venture, you can maybe put your input here too, but if you are going to a party or like a family gathering for Christmas or something. Typically, if your loved one's recently home from rehab, people kind of know your story, right? They're home and everybody's excited to see them. There needs to be a safe place for them to go to.
For sure.
So having that conversation with your family, saying, hey, let's maybe put the alcohol up if they struggle with that, right? If they kind of go through your cabinets. I mean, I truly believe in freedom from addiction, but if they're newly out of rehab and it's all just right there at their fingertips, you don't want any stumbling blocks, right? And you want peace of mind for yourself, right? So if you have that conversation with your family, you have to go out of town for Christmas, that's fine. Do that. But you want to set those safeguards out, saying, let's put up the pill bottles, let's put up the alcohol, and let's just have a jolly old time together, other ways.
Well, and here's the two categories of that. One, people don't understand it. They have no idea that people will actually work on your house and come look through your bathroom cabinets. Like, people don't realize how serious it is. The other one, people that struggle with their own addiction aren't ready to admit it. So they're like, come get on my level. I'm not putting anything away. And that's where those boundaries have to be put down. But
and if they're not willing to.
And I have 100% many times gone before John and said, hey, can you make sure that the pill bottles are up? Can you make sure that everything's away? Like Katie said, I believe in freedom, but I also, especially in the beginning, any of that can be a stumbling block. Because they're building that foundation and you don't want anything in the way, especially if there's somebody that participates in that more so than others. And I was naive to all that. Like, I left, I would have surgeries and I hated this stuff because of my dad. And so I just had it out. I never dreamed that somebody would come in my house and take it. And so a lot of times it's just bringing that to light that, hey, put it away, put it in a safe, just put it somewhere conspicuous.
Yeah,
you know,
I would always save mine for like a rainy day. If
That's
like
me.
I had,
Yeah. Or kidney
I
stones.
had kidney stones. Yeah, and
Amen.
they're reoccurring.
Yeah.
And I would be like, I'm gonna save this half of the pill bottle for next time I get a kidney
Yeah.
stone. But now, I mean, that's just not in
Yeah.
my vocabulary. You just kind of toss it. That's just
Right.
kinda
Oh,
push
yeah.
it down the toilet.
Yeah. Now we know nothing stays in the house.
Yeah.
You know, no rainy days for us.
No, we don't need that. There's no need for all that.
No,
So.
but that's a huge one. And it's okay to have those conversations. And if somebody gets upset with you, that's on them. That's 100% on them.
Yeah.
So
What else?
I was trying to think. Let's see.
Let me get to my notes. Sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, keep the stress levels down. And we kind of touched on that one, but just simple.
Yeah.
Simple. Don't overdo it. One of the things I have is if you are a single parent this year, make it special. Do things because it is going to be hard without them. And so do things for the kids that if you do Christmas cookies, go somewhere new and look at lights. Like do things that make it special.
Yeah.
Simple, not expensive, but still bring back
Special
really
in that
sweet
memory.
memories.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know we had a lot of tough Christmases growing up, and those were the things Mama would do. And I still to this day, they're like my most favorite. So there's little things that you can do to make it special even when they're gone.
I would, another one is to confide or seek support during this time, especially. We talk a lot about how counselors are great. Your hairstylist might be your counselor. Go get your hair done and have a chat,
That's
if you
right.
will. But in all honesty, maybe a couple of friends that you really trust and just say, will you just pray for me during the holiday season, right? I mean, I'm really struggling with this. My loved one's in rehab and I'm praying fervently, but I need other people to come around me and pray for me too, because I need that support. And even just talking about it with somebody, and just kind of letting it out, there is healing in that. And so if you're really struggling in the holidays, with some of this stuff, an encouragement would be to seek support. Seek support from counselors, seek support from a friend, a pastor, your hairstylist, whoever it may be. Just seek some support. I feel like that can get you kind of through that, the holiday season, a little bit extra, if you will, more than maybe you already do.
Yeah. And that's a great point, even more, you're walking into a tough season.
Yeah.
And so armor up every day.
Yeah.
Be in your Bible.
That's
Be
true.
in your worship music. Every morning armor up because you're going into battle. You're going into storms. And so be ready to fight that. And God will give you, that's the one verse I was thinking was Philippians 4, 6, and 7. In that, God will give you the peace that surpasses all understanding. In those tough moments, that's where that comes in.
Yeah.
And if you're armored up and ready for battle, that's where that peace will come, which is so amazing.
Yeah.
And so I always, even when I know before mission trips, I know that the enemy is out to get us.
That's true. Yeah.
And so that's when I armor up. It's time to dig my feet in deeper. And so going into the holidays when, one, we're celebrating the birth of Jesus.
Yeah.
Satan hates it.
I know.
He hates it. And so, and with a loved one and these struggles, whatever it may be, armor up every day and he will give you the word. Even right now going through Luke every day, as the story of Jesus and the birth of Jesus, just something to just pour into yourself.
I love that. Kind of going back to that point you just made, just being the reason for the season, and always kind of going back to that. I would encourage you during this season to really focus in on the reason for the season. And when you're doing that, you really see the forgiveness that God gave us, that we can extend to our loved ones. If they're new out of rehab, it's something we've talked about before. Forgiveness is hard. It's not forgetting, right? What they've done, but practicing the forgiveness that God's given us. When you're looking at the birth of Christ and him ultimately laying his life down for us, he forgave us for all of our stuff. And why not extend that same forgiveness to our loved one? practicing love, practicing kindness and truth, that God so incredibly showed throughout the Bible to his loved ones. And so practicing that to our loved one and to our family that's hurt us. You're inevitably going to be around people that, hasn't always been there for you or has hurt you in some sort of way. So practicing that love that Christ has so graciously shown us. And we're celebrating that this season of him coming into the world as a baby, in his ministry on earth, and how we can practice that same love and kindness to our loved ones. So
I love that, because it's so important to remember that. And because just know, as hard as it is for us, it's also extremely hard for them.
it is. Yeah.
There's triggers, there's feelings they haven't felt in a really long time. There's people they haven't been around in a really long time, trauma that goes back from these people. Know that it's hard for us, but it's also very hard for them. And so I think that's where it's extremely pertinent to communicate and to be there and to remember forgiveness and grace.
Yeah.
And even, in Philippians, it's 4:6, but do not be anxious about anything, but in everything prayer and supplication and thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So those moments that my anxiety would arise, that's when I have to go back to thankfulness, thankful that they're here, or thankful that the position we're in, or straight to prayer. Like, God, I'm worried right now. God, my anxiety's high. And that's when the peace that surpasses all understanding. But to remember the reason for the season, when we stay focused on that, that is when God just comes down and just wrecks our holiday in the most beautiful way. So, and I do want to touch on the last that I had written down. Okay. It's the first holiday without your loved one. And that's a hard, when Papa passed away last year, I remember the guy that did his celebration of life, he said the first are going to be hard. The first birthdays, the first Christmases, the first Thanksgiving. And so this is a year, I would say, to grace yourself. Whatever you feel that you need to do, if it's to be with family, if it's to go away on vacation, whatever it is, give yourself room to grieve and to heal and to process. Because we know this season is not easy, and we know that we talk to all different types of people in this journey. I know that we have many friends that watch who didn't have that outcome or did. Just love yourself this holiday.
Yeah.
Run to Jesus and give yourself space.
Yeah. And ultimately, when you're dealing with the holidays and the hustle and the bustle and all the things, just taking a step back and getting in the Word and trusting that God is going to give you the strength and the guidance on how to deal with your loved one, whether they're in rehab, they're out of rehab, maybe you've lost them this year, maybe they need help. There is power in prayer and there's power in the Word of God to get you through and give you strength and to give you guidance. And I often will pray for discernment in certain situations. And so you can pray for discernment and how to deal with your loved one, how to have those hard conversations, how to have those boundary conversations. So ultimately God will give you the strength and the guidance. We're just here to encourage you during that and know that it's possible to have a fulfilling holiday. And, so we hope that you do. So do you have anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay. So we do. We hope that you have a beautiful Christmas season. We are so thankful for you all this year. And next year, we promise we'll wear our jingle jangle Christmas sweaters for you. But nonetheless, we hope that you have a very Merry Christmas this year. And we look forward to seeing you next week, and have a blessed day.